So the thing is that you will be opening up your maybe Chrome, and in the Chrome browser, let's say you open up SD-WAN. Now in the production environment, you have around a site in Dubai, a site in London, a site in New Delhi, a site in somewhere else. And all these sites have some edge devices. So there is a controller called a vManage in SD-WAN. This vManage will have the ability to control your London router, your Dubai router, right? Your all the other, you can say, devices that are there in the WAN fabric. Now you can deploy the configuration onto the entire fabric from this particular GUI itself. But instead of doing it from here, what you do, you you have the ability to use management PC, and then this management PC is going to send instructions onto this vManage, okay, by either using Python at the back end or by using Postman or things like that. So this communication that is happening between the controller and the management PC is done over generally over HTTP.
If you enjoyed the content of the video, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel.
By using HTTP as the transfer protocol. Okay, but there is one difference now. It doesn't actually completely uses HTTP. It's not like that, because in HTTP the thing actually works up in a request response model. So you would have a request here, you had a response here, and then the request will be sent onto the device, the response will be received. That's how HTTP cycle is treated to be. But it's like whenever you're sending a query or HTTP request, the request is being crafted by using applications like Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, or things like that. And then when you get a reply, the reply is generally called as HTTP response. And it's gonna be a combination of HTML, JavaScript, right, or CSS, things like that. That's exactly what you see, a blend of all these together in an animated way on your front end screen. That's what your reply is gonna. So if you click on any web page, it's an HTTP query. If you try to download something, it's an HTTP query. You're gonna upload something, it's an HTTP. Everything is surrounded by Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay, HTTP. Now, if you talk in the world of automation, there is a brother to HTTP or a synonym to HTTP which is called as REST, or you might have heard about REST API. This REST API is nothing but same as HTTP. The only factor is when you the application that you use in order to create your HTTP query or request in REST API is not Chrome, Mozilla, or Safari. It's basically Python or Postman or any third-party application. So you write down your HTTP query there, and then you send it. And your query can be maybe to fetch out list of all the routers that are available in site number 12, or you want to configure a loopback interface on all the routers that are available into the production, right? All these tasks can actually be configured by using Python, and then the instructions can be sent out onto the device there, and then the reply can be fetched out. But as I said, that the reply is not going to be in HTML or things like that. That will kind of be visually enriching to see. So in order to do that, you basically play up with Python, and you basically play up understanding how JSON and all this thing works. But every query needs to be done under some, you can say, methods. So the thing that you need to understand is REST API methods. And these methods, Cisco is kind of marketing with the name of CRUD. C stands for create, R stands for read, U stands for update, and D stands for delete. So when you do create, it means that you are trying to create some configuration onto device, maybe ACL config, interface config, NAT config, whatever config that you have. When you say read, it means that you are basically trying to execute a Python script to fetch out maybe list of devices or number of IP addresses, or various other information that can be. Third can be update. Let's say you created a new configuration onto the device, maybe ACL config, maybe loopback config or so, and then you feel like changing the IP address of that. So you would only use update method, and then to delete the configuration, you would use delete. Now, if you this is all theory. If you compare it with the practical, you have REST API there, and REST API also uses all these four items. It's just that the naming convention is different. So in order to create something, you use post as your application or your method. In order to fetch out information, you use get as one of the method to fetch out all the config. Then to update something, you use put, and to delete something, of course, it's gonna be delete. So these are kind of the operations that you actually execute in order to communicate with the devices there, and send the configuration onto the devices, and all these things. We good here? So when you talk about how the protocol stacks and all this can be configured, when you have a management PC, this management PC is going to communicate with the devices by using HTTP as the transfer protocol. But then what about the data? Okay, so whenever you're kind of creating a configuration on advanced devices, it's not going to be CLI configuration that needs to be deployed. It's basically going to be structured data. So the configuration that you write for the device, maybe interface config, OSPF config, and all this config, it is not written into normal CLI language. It is written into something you can say called data structuring languages. And these are XML and JSON. These are a couple of data structuring language that you are going to send your HTTP query according. Okay, and then after that you will kind of be getting response back depending on what type of operation that you're executing or so.